Hello and a warm welcome to Sports 360, your weekly show on what's happening in the world of sports. We take a look at the top sporting stories of the week, also a critical look at the stories that missed our attention from the record books. Our regular segments on player, goal and image of the week. Let's get started with the top story we are tracking this week. Well, 2 years, 9 teams, 27 series, 72 test matches. That's what it will take to get the new test champion of the world. Along with the Ashes series in England that's underway with the first test in Edgbaston, sees the beginning of the ICC World Test Championship. Brought in to add contest to the bilateral test series, the first edition of the World Test Championship will run until June 2021 when the top 2 finalists will play for the title at Lord's in England.
Confident drive from Joe Denley, the first really confident.
Number of teams. The top 9 teams in the ICC Test rankings will participate in the Test Championship. They are India, New Zealand, South Africa, England, Australia, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, West Indies and Bangladesh. Matches involving Afghanistan and Ireland will not be part of the championship. Format. Each of the 9 teams will play 6 opponents with 3 series at home and 3 series away. The number of matches in a series can vary from a minimum of 2 to a maximum of 5 test matches. The matches will be held just like regular bilateral series, but each game now has a bigger contest. The matches can be day or day-night as agreed upon by the 2 boards involved. One-off cycle. A total of 71 tests in 27 series will be played in the inaugural Test Championship. The 2 teams with the most points in the league stage will play the final in June 2021. The second cycle will begin at the end of the first one and will run until April 2020. Point system. Each series has a total of 120 points allotted according to the number of matches in the series. A test win in a 2-match series will earn the team 60 points, while a win in a 5-match test series will give 24 points. A tie will be allotted half the points for a win, while a draw will be allotted 1/3 of a points for a win. Matches per team. While each team will play 6 series, the number of matches vary. The list: England 22, Australia 19, India 18, South Africa 16, West Indies 15, New Zealand 14, Bangladesh 14, Pakistan 13, Sri Lanka 13. Will all the matches in the WTC be played over 5 days, and do these include day-night matches? The first cycle of the WTC consists of only 5-day matches and will include day-night matches subject to bilateral and mutual agreement between the boards and opponents. Test team rankings. The rankings will continue with all 12 teams on the table. The points table of the WTC will be independent of the team rankings. The broadcast rights for each series belong to the host member board, as have always been the case. However, the rights for the WTC final in June 2021 rests with the ICC. Sport Desk, DD News. Well, what could it mean, this ICC World Test Championship? Is it going to add different dimensions to the game? Is it going to make the game a bit more interesting? Is Test cricket being promoted by ICC at the cost of other games, the shorter formats like the one-day cricket or the T20? Is that going to be affected? Purely looking at mathematics, a test match fetches 43 crores roughly around for the ICC or for the bilateral nation that's involved with it, while an IPL match gets you roughly around 55 to 56 crores for every game that's played. So purely in terms of mathematics, test cricket losing out big time, but we'll get an analysis on how this could be making a difference to it. Joining me in the studios will be somebody somebody who's been with us always, but joining us for the first time in Sports 360, Rakesh Rao, joining us this evening to take it further on how it could mean and what it could mean for test cricket. Let me welcome Rakesh onto the show here on Sports 360. Rakesh, good evening. Welcome to
Very good evening.
Rakesh, how would you look at it? Test cricket now getting a dimension, World Test series coming, but you don't see an India-Pakistan playing. So what's the difference? What's the fun when you don't see an India-Pakistan play a World Test Championship? And except for the fact that they both reached the final, you don't see them playing each other.
Well, the thing is that we are looking at it purely in the entire viewpoint here. It seems to be like very much India-centric. But if you just go beyond that, it is the test cricket that needs survival.
Okay.
Now that is where I think India plays a big role. India has been given 18 like matches there, less than England and Australia. Having said that, overall test cricket needs to be out of that life support system that it is there for a while now, because it is sinking. We all know that it is only when India Australia play, or Australia England play, that is when it comes to life. Any other two combinations that you see, test crickets don't have many takers.
Okay.
So even if you see it from the point of view of the broadcasters, they struggle and they all have complaints. Now that is where I think they're just trying to put it all together, structure it in a way that it is not just without any like link from series A to B. They are trying to put it all together. So the idea is to give it a shape, give it a kind of a life of its own now for the next 3 years, and trying to put it all together to sustain the interests of those who like purest form of the game. So that's the whole idea.
Okay, purely looking at it in terms of points available, 60 points available for a win. But if you bring that to a draw, it's just 20 available for a draw. Isn't that a bit lopsided the way in which this format has been set? Or do you feel this particular format in which 60, if it's a test series and you win a test match, clearly makes it even more exciting? Test cricket becomes even more exciting.
Well, I really don't know the logic behind this, this anomaly here. Yeah, exactly. But then I think the whole idea is that what the T20 has done to 50-over game, or even the like the 5-day game overall, whether it's domestic or otherwise, what it has done is that you see more number of runs being scored, more and the bowlers are also getting away with a lot of wickets here, because the batsmen are somewhat aggressive. They don't really stick to their wickets so much, like we saw in the first day of the ongoing Ashes match, also the Ashes series. So what I'm trying to say is that what you're trying to here, encourage is to see results.
Okay.
You go for an outright result and you're safe. You two teams, if they are not showing any ambition to win the match, that's what you get eventually. So I think that is one way of penalizing two defensive teams here. The whole idea is to go for a win no matter what.
Okay, go for a win, outright win inside 5 days. That's what makes test cricketing more exciting, and people should look forward to more people getting attracted to test venues to watch two test teams playing in whites. A wonderful treat as always to watch. But let's move ahead now. India's captain Virat Kohli hasn't done a bad job as the captain of the Indian side. Kohli has led India to the final of the Champions Trophy and also the semi-final of the 2019 World Cup. On the other hand, Rohit Sharma has also done a good job whenever he has been given the leadership role by the team. Here are 3 reasons why Rohit Sharma should replace Virat Kohli as the ODI and the T20 captain.
Although Virat Kohli has been the captain of the Indian limited overs for only 2.5 years, he has captained the team in 2 global tournaments in that period. And India, despite going into both the tournaments with huge potential in the squad, couldn't go all the way in either of them. Even though India's campaign in the World Cup ended on an extremely sad note, after this many Indian fans believe it's time for Rohit Sharma to take over the leadership role in limited overs cricket from Virat. Here are 3 reasons why Rohit should replace Kohli as India's limited overs captain. Excellent record as captain. Rohit is a 4-time IPL winner with Mumbai as captain. While he has been blessed with some wonderful players in the Mumbai team, the role of his leadership in Mumbai's triumphs cannot be undermined. One of the things that Rohit does with the Mumbai team is that he doesn't chop or change much. If he picks a young player, he gives him ample time to find his feet before discarding him if he fails consistently. The prime example of that are the 2 leg spinners that he has played in the past 2 editions. Rohit had 2 options at his disposal at the start of the last season, Mayank Markande and Rahul Chahar. Under Rohit, Mumbai has produced world-class players. Rohit has a history of backing his players, and under his captaincy, Mumbai have produced players like Jasprit Bumrah, Hardik Pandya, Krunal Pandya, who are match winners on their day. While the talent scouts and team management of Mumbai deserve a lot of credit for the uprising, the backing and trust of a captain is of great importance, as it is the captain who decides on-field tactics. This move will help Kohli focus on his batting. Virat is regarded as the best batsman of this generation. Free from the responsibility of captaincy, he should be able to focus on his batting a lot more and will not be burdened of having the weight of the team on his shoulders. Undoubtedly, Virat is leading the team well in the test format and should continue to hold the test captaincy, but there might be a time for change of guard as far as the shorter formats are concerned. Sports Desk, DD News.
Well, purely looking at Rohit getting the baton of handling the T20 and one day squad, is that a good option? Rakesh, purely looking at in terms of record, the way Rohit has developed, and Rohit clearly indicating that he's ready for the job. Do you feel it's time for BCCI and the selectors to sit back and think about it and lessen the load that Virat has on his shoulders?
See, if the whole context is to reduce the load on like Virat by taking away his ODI captaincy, then that will be something that we can think about. Just removing him, because Rohit has done in T20 and that to an IPL, I won't back him for that at all, because it's a different ball game. When you are playing IPL, when you are playing like franchisee cricket, it is far from leading the country. I mean, the kind of pressures, the kind of expectations people have of you. There you can get away with it because like memory span is too short. You can make a horrendous mistake and people don't even remember it. But when you're playing for the country, when you are leading the country in a format where people are focusing on you and what you are doing, you are under the scanner all the time. So I don't normally want to mix T20 with 50 overs in any case. That's one. But if the intention is to reduce the load on Virat, yes, that you can definitely think of it, that you do have a second choice there, that you can definitely shift it to Rohit, provided Virat is happy with it, because Virat is the sort of person who would like to take the pressure and absorb it. So far he hasn't said a word about trying to shed the captaincy load either in Test, ODIs or in T20. So maybe this can be a good idea or a good subject for people to sit and debate. But I don't think this really means anything to Virat, because so far Virat is so focused on his job and he likes to take that additional pressure. So I don't think from Virat's point of view it is something that he has indicated to somebody. Yes, I know that the entire lobby, which we all are aware that there is something called a Bombay lobby, which exists right through the selectors. I mean, it used to be there among ex-cricketers, commentators, journalists. They all used to form this coterie whenever we saw that, I mean, this has been happening right through the 50s and the 60s. So it's not something new. If they are the ones behind this and trying to lend credence to this whole topic of, Rohit is ready, that's a different thing again. But what I'm trying to say is, from Virat's perspective, he's ready for it. He's not letting go of his captaincy, be it Test cricket, ODIs or T20.
Virat is not going to let go of it, but it's for the selectors to sit back and somewhere ponder, is there a need to lessen the burden of Virat's shoulders? Remember, the world #1 side, England too, have split captaincy, so it's purely a point that, that needs consideration and that needs to be, pondered on in the times ahead. Moving ahead, and now we're talking about the player of this week. The player of the week that we're looking at from the world of cricket, Steve Smith is your player of the week. He defied England bowler, jeers from the Edgbaston crowd, and played a superb knock of 144 that kept Australia in this particular Ashes opener in Edgbaston. So he is the player of the week for our Sports 360. Well, that's segment 1 of sports, where we focus on cricket, or the top story of the week. Our next segment is on records that that fail to break the mark. Women's shorter distance track records getting broken in track and field is an endless wait. The 100 and 200 meters world record timings have not been tested for 31 years, while the 800 meters record stood the test of time for 36 years. So the latest news of Olympic champion Dalilah Muhammad shattering the 16-year-old record on 400 meters hurdles comes as a breath of fresh air for women's athletes. Let's take a look.
Faster, higher, stronger, the motto of the Olympic Games. But sprint marks set in the 1980s are not been broken for reasons unknown. The 100 meters and 200 meters world record timing was set in 1988 by Florence Griffith Joyner and have stood the test of time for 31 long years. The American runner, whose long colored nails were almost as famous as she, set the world record with a timing of 10.49 seconds in the 100 meters dash and 21.34 seconds in the 200 meters race. That's not all. The 400 meter world mark was set by East Germany's Martika Koch, who clocked 47.60 seconds even further back in 1985. The 800 meters mark timing has been untouched since 1983 and belongs to Jarmila Kratkočevalov of Czechoslovakia. The Czech was 32 when she broke the record in Munich in 1983, knocking almost a second and a half off her previous best set 3 years beforehand. The high jump record was set in 1987 by Stefka Kostadinova of 2.09 meters, while the long jump record was set 1 year later in 1988 by Galina Chitskova of 7.52 meters. Jackie Joyner, Kirsty's sister-in-law to track and field athlete Joe Flo, holds the heptathlon world record with 7,291 points. Steroids used in track and field athletes exploded in the 1980s before drug testing became as sophisticated and rigorous as it is today. Apart from a few athletes who were caught, notably Canada's Ben Johnson disqualified after testing positive for stanzolol after winning the 100 meters at the 1988 Seoul Olympics, nobody knows for sure which athletes doped and which performed clean. None of these record breakers ever failed a dope test, but there has been a cloud of doping over Florence Griffith Joyner. She quit the sport in 1989, the year random dope testing was launched in track and field event. The American superstar died following an epileptic seizure in 1998 at the age of 38, raising further questions over whether she was a clean athlete. East Germany's systematic doping in the 1980s is well documented, but the 400-meter world record holder coach denied any wrongdoing. She points to the fact that she never failed a test, something that has been discredited since the revelation of cyclist Lance Armstrong. Performance records for women's sprints and throws show how dominant East German athletes were at the doping program's height and how contemporary performances have fallen away from the mark set in the 1980s. It was only in 2005 that the World Anti-Doping Agency introduced the robust Anti-Doping Administration and Management System, which is also known as ADAMS. The new protocol made it mandatory for elite athletes to declare their whereabouts, making it tough for cheats to avoid out-of-competition testing. Besides, samples were stored so that they could be retested after every technology update. Unlike in the men's event, where the now retired and serial record book breaker Usain Bolt attracted thousands of fans to the stadium, the women's event lacked an athlete that pushed the limits and was seen as an all-time great. The 2016 Olympic champion Dalilah Muhammad's blistering display sliced more than 1/10 of a second of the previous record of 52.34 seconds by clocking 52.20 seconds. With Dalilah breaking the record in 400 meters hurdle set in 2003 and a possible talk of clocking under 52 seconds in the World Championship in Qatar, there is hope that women can now dare to dream and get into record books. Meanwhile, the men's 100-meter record currently held by Usain Bolt has been broken 15 times since the 1980s. As a result of his feats, Bolt is a global icon, earning $10 million a year in endorsements and appearance fees. But will women rise and shine and rewrite record books and take the bar to newer heights is worth hoping for. Sports Desk, DD News.
Well, clearly looking at how that particular record, women's record in track and field not getting broken. Let's take a look at that particular plate on how these records are not being broken. The 100 meters, 200 meters, 400 meters, 800 meters, high jump, long jump. You've got many records that have stood the test of time. 88, 85, going back to 83, the last time that India won the World Cup, 1983. So it's a long record where, things have not been broken in women's track and field. What are the reasons why, track and field in women is not broken in this level, at this point of time and and again. We're talking about women's records being, tested. If you purely look at it on the men's side, Usain Bolt, his record has been broken almost. The 100 meters record has almost been broken in the last 20 years, around 15 times. And if you put that against the women's record, that's not seeing that kind of test being there time and again. So what are the reasons for this particular record not being broken? We've still got in the studio, we've got a guest still with us. Rakesh, what the reasons that you feel, this particular record, when the women's track and field don't get tested or, are standing the test of time for such a long time?
Well, for me, it's not very difficult to, gauge this, because if you see the names there, Flojo in the first two, that's 100 and 200. Then you had athletes from the GDR or the East Germany.
True.
Were all known to be products of the so-called dope factories of the 80s. That's one of the reasons, because if you see Marita, the way she used to run, I mean people used to say that this one is now actually she's running as though she's doped. I mean, this was an allegation of the 80s, which I remember very clearly, but it could never be proved. And then, of course, much later through the 80s, we heard that once the the two Germanys merged, and then we had a different result there. Then a lot of stories came out of that. Then, if you add to these five, you also had the heptathlon record. Then you had the 4x400 meter, again for ladies. Now these are the 8 records which have stood the times right from the 80s. For me, it is a surprise that now, going by these numbers, we are actually legitimizing our fears that those people were indeed doped, because this looks unreal. Reason being, if you see from the 80s, the entire, your intake has changed so much of every athlete. Everything is so scientifically devised. You know exactly when to eat, what to eat, and in how much quantity.
But the record's very, very clearly
everything. Yeah. So overall, when you look at this, what you are looking here, you are actually looking at numbers which actually startle you. That at that point in time, we believed that they were doped. Yes. Today also we have the same feeling, but and then there is this highly, we have had this very increased number of cases of doping. So what are we trying to say? That people were actually scared, at least they are scared as of today, of the steps taken by WADA and stuff. That could be one of the reasons that we are not seeing it. But unfortunately, and rather fortunately, this is not happening in the men's section.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you, and appreciate you joining us this evening in the studio. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, Anil. Thanks so much.
Well, moving ahead now to the European football and the European football season that's about to begin in a few days' time. The clubs across the continent have spent the past 2 months in search of the players who can make the clubs perform better. The current transfer window has already seen some big money signings, with many more expected to follow before it closes.
The new football season is fast approaching, with millions already ploughed into improving squads around the world. Teams across the globe ready to splash huge money on reinforcements of their squad ahead of 2019-20 season. Here are the top transfers so far in this season. Eden Hazard, Real Madrid from Chelsea. Real Madrid signed Eden Hazard from Chelsea for their second major off-season addition, and reportedly their most expensive ever. The 28-year-old forward joined Madrid on a 5-year contract and a transfer fee reported to be around 100 million euros plus variables, which would make him the club's biggest signing. The Belgian scored 110 goals in 352 games for Chelsea after joining from Lille in 2012. Matthijs de Ligt, Juventus from Ajax. World-class defenders don't come around every week, especially ones who are only 19-year-old. Every club in Europe has been chasing de Ligt's signature, and Juventus did incredibly well to seal the deal. With this move, Juventus have landed themselves a class act and ensured that their defense is covered for the next decade at least. He played 117 games for Ajax in all competitions, scoring 13 goals, and he scored the winner in Turin as Ajax eliminated Juventus in the Champions League quarter-finals. De Ligt has played 17 times for Netherlands. Antoine Griezmann, Atletico Madrid to Barcelona. The French World Cup winner's long-running transfer saga finally ended when Barcelona announced his signing on July 12th. Griezmann's move to Nou Camp was one of football's worst-kept secrets. However, the Catalans wanted to wait until they could activate his £108 million release clause. Frenkie de Jong, Ajax to Barcelona. Frenkie has only made just 50 appearances for Ajax, but the 21-year-old holding midfielder cost Barcelona 75 million euros, the money that Ajax will use to put back into the club and find the next player for the production line. For Barcelona, De Jong is a natural heir to Sergio Busquets. He will learn a lot in the next couple of years, playing with Busquets and teammates, while his style is perfect for how Barca play. Luka Jovic, Eintracht Frankfurt to Real Madrid. Luka joined Real Madrid on an undisclosed fee from Bundesliga club Eintracht Frankfurt in a 6-year deal. The 21-year-old with Frankfurt on loan between 2017 and 2019, and this move will come as a major boost for Real Madrid, who did not enjoy a successful 2018-19 season following the departure of Cristiano Ronaldo last year. Sports Desk, DD News.
Well, after a look at the transfer window for the summer, let's now take a look at the goal of the week. Chelsea's Pedro scored one of the goals of the year in the pre-season. If this goal had happened in the Premier League match, it would have caused a meltdown on soccer Twitter. But surely one of the moves that that gives hope that the Blues could be in striking distance this time around in this season. Last time around, which was dominated by Manchester City and Liverpool. Well, moving from the goal of the week to the save of the week, Keylor Navas made a series of super saves in Real Madrid's pre-season friendly against Tottenham Hotspur. Let's take a look at it, because Real Madrid are having a dreadful start to the season, but this particular saves that Keylor Navas made in that outing against Spurs surely gave the hope for Real that they don't need to search at least for a goalkeeper. Well, American superstar celeb Dressel has invited comparisons to Olympic legend Michael Phelps after lighting up a World Swimming Championship plagued by doping rows. Dressel came away from South Korea with 6 gold medals and 2 silvers, and obliterating Phelps' 10-year-old 100 meters butterfly world record.
This time, Caleb Dressel stands alone. Exhaustion and relief flooded Dressel. Maybe now the comparisons with Michael Phelps can fade away. Dressel won 8 medals, including 6 golds at the World Swimming Championship, the biggest meet outside the Olympics. 2 years ago in Hungary, he tied Phelps' record of 7 golds at a single Worlds, including 3 in one night. Dressel set his own standard in South Korea, where he again won 3 gold in a single night. He came away with 6 gold medals and 2 silvers, winning all 4 of his individual events and obliterating Phelps' 10-year-old 100 meters butterfly world record for good measure. Inevitably, talk turned to next year's Tokyo Olympics and whether Dressel can emulate Phelps, who racked up a record 8 gold medals at the 2008 Beijing Games. Sports Desk, DD India.
Well, that's all we have time for in this week of Sports 360. If you like Sports 360, do tell others. If you don't, do drop us a mail on DD sports360@gmail.com. We leave you with a positive sporting thought for the weekend. Gold medals don't make champions. Hard work surely does. Enjoy this image of the week of the Tour de France winner Egan Bernal, and we're going to be back again next week, same time, same channel. Till then, goodbye. Take good care of yourself and stay healthy. Bye-bye.